Sarah Ferguson, once a familiar figure moving confidently through royal corridors, now feels like a name echoing through empty rooms. The question isn't simply where she is anymore, but why she seems determined not to be found. What began as whispers has hardened into something more unsettling, a pattern of quiet movement, of slipping between private residences owned by individuals who prefer discretion over visibility. No announcements, no public appearances, just absence, deliberate and prolonged. There's a rhythm to it, almost calculated. One location, then another, each stay temporary, each exit quieter than the last. This isn't retreat for rest or reflection. It carries the weight of avoidance, and with it comes the detail that refuses to be ignored: the phones. Not one, not two, but three. Devices rotated, replaced, discarded. Behavior that suggests not eccentricity, but vigilance. The kind of vigilance that grows when someone begins to believe they are being watched, and perhaps that's where the shift begins. Not in the movement itself, but in the reason behind it. Those who claim to have seen her recently speak in tones that are careful, almost hesitant. They describe not the composed public figure once known, but someone altered, stripped of polish, disconnected from the image she spent years maintaining. The details are small, but telling. The absence of routine, the lack of attention to appearance, the quiet signs of someone no longer concerned with presentation. It's not just physical, it's symbolic, a departure from the controlled narrative she once upheld. Because when someone stops maintaining the surface, it often means something deeper has shifted underneath. And then come the whispers, persistent, difficult to dismiss. The belief that she is being tracked, not casually observed, but followed with intent. Whether rooted in truth or fear, the effect is the same. It changes behavior, it alters decisions, it turns every call, every message, every connection into a potential risk. At that point, the line between caution and paranoia begins to blur. No story like this exists in isolation. Eventually, the past finds its way back in. Old associations, resurfaced communications, fragments of conversations that refuse to remain buried. Publicly, there have been acknowledgements, carefully worded expressions of regret, but privately, the tone is rumored to have been far less controlled. And that contradiction between what is said and what may have been felt creates pressure, the kind that doesn't fade but builds. Because in a world where perception shapes reality, even a single inconsistency can fracture everything. Those close enough to observe describe a state of tension, emotional exhaustion mixed with something sharper, frustration, anger, a sense of being cornered, and when those elements combine, they don't remain contained. They begin to push outward, searching for release. Because pressure, left unresolved, always finds a way to surface. There's a moment in every unraveling where silence stops being protective and starts becoming destructive. For her, that moment may have already passed. The quiet distancing, the closed doors, the removal of access, none of it needed explanation. The message was clear enough without words. You are no longer part of this. And yet, removal doesn't erase memory. It doesn't dissolve experience. If anything, it sharpens it. Because sitting outside a system you once belonged to forces reflection on what was said, what was done, and what was never meant to be known. Isolation has a way of transforming emotion. What begins as confusion hardens into resentment. Not loud, not immediate, but steady. And beneath that resentment lies something far more significant: knowledge. The kind that doesn't fade with time. The kind that waits. Now, everything feels suspended, balanced on a point that could tip in either direction. The movements are becoming less controlled, the risks more visible. Attempts to maintain contact, to hold on to something familiar, are growing increasingly unpredictable. And unpredictability, in situations like this, is where consequences begin. Behind closed doors, away from the structure that once defined her, something has shifted. Restraint is no longer guaranteed. And when restraint fades, what remains is unfiltered. Words, memories, details that were never meant to leave private spaces. That is where the real tension lies. Because this is no longer just about disappearance or avoidance. It's about potential, about what could happen if silence gives way to disclosure, if what has been held back, carefully, deliberately, is finally released without control. And so the question lingers, heavier than before. Not where she is, not even why she's hiding, but what happens next if she decides to stop.